I'm Dr. Scott Lyons, and you're watching or listening to The Gently Used Human. All right, y'all, I'm gonna just name it. Dating is hard with a capital H. With so many choices at our fingertips, dating apps have become a double-edged sword, offering endless possibilities while simultaneously overwhelming us with options. Do we swipe based on a careful, curated list of desired traits, or do we let our intuition guide us, swiping right on the inevitable spark of connection? Well, in this ever-evolving landscape where the rules of engagement are constantly shifting, many of us are left feeling lost and uncertain. Thankfully, I'm joined today by the brilliant Damona Hoffman, dating expert and author who knows how to make sense of complexities of human connection. Damona is here to dispel the myths of dating, like the trap of looking for a soulmate or waiting for the right chemistry, offering us tools to help navigate the search for aligned values and lasting intimacy. Yes, please. In this conversation, we'll explore the power of vulnerability and self-discovery in creating meaningful bonds, the importance of curiosity in building trust, and what it really means for us to each build our own unique love story. We'll dive into the 4 biggest dating myths that keep us stuck and learn how to flip the script, prioritizing goals, values, communication, and trust over fairy tale fantasies. So if you're ready, let's swipe left on outdated dating myths and swipe right on genuine connection and self-discovery. Let's get into this. It's going to be great. Damona, my love, welcome to The Gently Used Human. It is such a blessing to have you.
It's so great to be here with you. Even though we're not in person right now, I feel the love and I feel the connection.
This is probably going to be the hardest podcast I've done in all of season 1 and season 2 because I just want to cuddle with you and and just hang out and it's but I want people to I'm going to imagine that this podcast is letting people in on our cuddle puddle.
I love that. We can expand the circle. That's the thing with love, Scott.
Yeah.
It can only expand. Your heart is not finite. So we'll let more people into the circle of love. I feel like
I love that.
Now.
And yet, as the dating expert that I turn to whenever I am possibly on the brink of breaking up or dating or expanding my dating circle, it's interesting. It's how much love do we have and how do we funnel it into other people matching that love? Basically, how the fuck do we date?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you started with the easy softball questions. I mean, I've really dedicated my life, well, the last 17 years of my life anyway, to answering that question. And the interesting thing is that the question always changes and the answer always changes.
Yeah.
Every few years. So we're in a new cycle right now. And that's why I felt like it was really important to write F the fairy tale now before it changes again, because I was feeling this sense of frustration, burnout, disappointment that was growing and growing. And I was like, I got to capture this moment of really, when you think of it, human connection. I am on Gently Used Human right here. Human connection is really one of the most important things of our life. In our life, who we choose to spend our time with and how we spend it impacts everything else, your mental health, where you live, your finances, your family. It impacts everything. And yet it's the decision that is often left to chance, or we just kind of go with the flow. So I like asking, what happens if we do what you were just saying of expanding the love and clarifying really what we want, what we need, what's going to make our hearts feel whole, and date from that place rather than this fantasy fairy tale idea of how it's supposed to look and then reverse engineering everything to try to fit into that ideal.
Yeah. And F, the fairy tale, F stands for fetishizing, right?
Yes, definitely. It stands for fantasizing, fetishizing, forgetting. It's you know what the F stands for,
It's
but
for fuck, y'all.
I,
F is for fuck.
I am, TV friendly. I work on
I
daytime
know
television.
you are.
So I actually think it's a feat that I've gotten this book on daytime television so many times because even like 10 years ago, I think producers would have been like, oh, we can't put that in prime time, daytime.
But there was like a whole age of like fuck this and fuck that in the title of books. I actually like that
There
it's
was.
just AF. Like it actually is more provocative to me than all seeing fuck this, fuck that on all the book titles. And we have mutual friends that love to put fuck on their book titles. But I
Sure.
appreciate the F.
I love a good fuck, but book.
Fuck book. When undergrad and I was studying directing and acting, and they would say, and this great directing teacher, she said, if you want to create a sense of provocativeness, then you don't put naked people on the stage. You put things that just cover, and you just uncover just a piece at a time. And so like F is actually, just putting F to me is almost more provocative than putting the word fuck the fairy tale on the book cover.
Ooh. I like what you're saying there. Yeah, it's like the hint,
the hint,
the provocativeness. Yes, and it wasn't necessarily intentional, but I like that people can put their own spin on it. And a lot of people have asked me about the title, thinking that when I say F the fairy tale, I'm meaning fuck love, like
no,
fuck relationships. It's 100%. The opposite. Wait, 180 degrees. I get these numbers confused. It's 180 degrees the opposite. What I'm saying is the subtitle really, rewrite the dating myths and live your own love story. It is meant to be an empowering book that helps you understand like what is really happening. Why are we so attached to this fairy tale idea? And it looks different for everyone, of course.
Mine's a magic carpet ride, just so we're clear.
Well, everybody loves Aladdin. Abu comes along for the ride, and
everyone's on that ride, that carpet.
Everybody,
and it is
actually,
a whole new world.
And now this is a musical podcast. I love it.
And now,
the reality is that we are imprinted by whatever our gender, whatever our orientation. We have had those ideals imprinted upon us by media, by our families, by our social circles. And it's really hard to parse out what we actually need and separate that from what we have been told. But that's where all the juicy stuff is.
It's so hard. I mean, it's also like, we all grew up with it. It was sort of like what we idealized. And it's so hard to break free and separate ourselves from like, because it gets absorbed and it starts operating on like the unconscious level that we don't even realize, oh, I'm seeking that same sort of magic spark, which often is just a trauma tingle.
Yeah, I mean, you know that. And
I know that.
When people are addicted to drama.
Yeah.
But, in your work, you see how this shows up. You see the negative effects of people being unable to see that. Yeah. Because then we do tend to drum up drama. We feel like, oh, if I feel the spark, then this is right. When we don't realize that's actually the sign that this person is triggering old wounds and patterns and things that we want to leave in the past. And that we really have the power. Like what I really want people to know when they read this book is that we have all the power in us to be able to change our path in love. If you're not where you are right now, if you're not where you want to be in love, if you're not in the relationship that you dream of, what happens if you see yourself in the driver's seat? Main character energy up on her. If you have that main character energy, really, it's your fairy tale to be told. You give yourself back the pen, you can write it differently.
Yeah. So What are some of the major myths, just so we can like move them into the conscious awareness and start to like let them dissolve so they're not controlling us?
Stop controlling us. Scott, I wanted to have like 25 myths, honestly. That was actually the starting point of the book. It was all about the myths. And my publisher was like, maybe you can trim it down a little bit. So I really had to ask myself, yeah,
I
like,
want all the
just
fucking myths.
focus it in. And I was like, and then there's this, and then that, and then no, I had to distill it down. And I think it actually made for a better book to really distill it down to what are the 4 biggest myths that I see clients coming to me for help with. And I have always looked at dating as a set of learned skills. And it's sort of this continuum where in my program, I always start people with mindset. And we walk through sort of chronologically through the dating process. And there is a process. And then it's wash, rinse, and repeat. And each of those phases can take weeks, it could take months, it could take years. And sometimes you got to start back over at the beginning. But what I did was identify a myth for each phase of the process that I walk people through. So the first myth around that mindset, I was like, what do people come to me for help with? Well, Damona, I've got this list, you see. I have this list of qualities that I'm looking for. And I was told by the fairy tales and my mom and my sister and, all the people in my life that they were supposed to look like this. They were supposed to make this much money. They were supposed to have this education. They were supposed to live in this neighborhood. And that list myth, I see keeping a lot of people stuck. And so I'm not saying throw out the list. I'm saying flip the list on its ear and ask yourself why you want those things on that list and if those are actually the things that you should be pursuing.
How do we know? Like, shit, like now I'm even thinking about the list I used to make and I'm like, no, those are my values. Like I want someone who's a good cook and because I value good food, I think. Yeah, so how do we identify it?
So lucky for you, I have gotten underneath that with the antidote to each of the myths. And the things I talked in my practice for a long time about the 4 pillars of long-term compatibility and the elements that I consistently saw come up in relationships for my clients that did last, that did make them happy, that did meet their needs. And it was really interesting to me when I stepped back and looked at the myths, they aligned really well with all of these pillars. So the antidote to dating by list is first figuring out date by goals. What is this person? What are their relationship goals? And I put goals first. Values are in there, Scott, and we'll get to that in a second. But I put goals in there first because I saw so many people that get so far down the road and then realize that they were always on a different path from the person that they were dating. And then they feel cheated and frustrated and exhausted that they have to sort of start over when if you're not aligned in your goals from the first few dates, generally the goals don't suddenly shift. Is like in an organic and authentic way. Like that person could be like, "Oh yeah, well that's what I want too. Yes, sure. Yeah, I'm open to kids." And if they originally did not have that goal in mind, it's sort of a false pretense that you're beginning the relationship on. And there are people that like don't know, like maybe you don't know if you want kids or you want marriage or where you want to live or whatever. That's okay. But talk about those things early on so that you can see if you are in the same ballpark.
Yeah. So if I'm like, ooh, I'm just looking for someone to split the mortgage with.
Sure.
Like
that's good.
That's valuable. I actually saw an article about that in living in New York City of like how many people like enter into the goal of relationship in New York City because it's so fucking expensive to like help split the rent. And I was like, I actually know that because I lived in New York for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's real. Well, it's real.
I've seen a lot of clients go through that. And even myself, yes, the struggle, the rent struggle is real in Los Angeles where I live as well.
Too. Yeah.
I'll share a little story from my own life too. When I was dating my husband, I think we had been dating maybe 2 years, and he was living like the dude bachelor lifestyle, like you know, 3-bedroom apartment, like 1 bathroom, like piled up with a bunch of other bros, and one of his roommates was moving out, and so he said, well, I kind of need to figure out, do I want to get another roommate and keep this lease, or like maybe move in with you? Maybe we can end the lease. I could just move in with you. And Scott, I have to tell you, I had just gotten this perfect, I was renting this condo. It was perfect. It had this like open floor plan. I had a walk-in closet, beautiful corner unit, balcony, whatever. So thrilled to finally, it was the first time I had ever lived by myself. I'd always had roommates, and I was like, I'm adulting. And he was like, yeah, maybe I can come and live with you. And I was like, hold on a second. Like, very invested in the relationship. But that is not, I'm not moving in out of convenience or because this arbitrary lease is up and you need to make a decision. I only want you to move in here if this is a step towards marriage. And I actually said that because that was my relationship goal.
Okay.
And a lot of people are afraid to voice that because what if you say, oh, this is a step towards marriage, and they're like, no. And then your heart's broken.
Yeah.
But I was brave enough in that moment to say, I'm not going to compromise my relationship goal just for convenience, or because like it would be nice to have someone split the rent on this place. And you know what happened, Scott?
What?
I asked him that question and he was like, I need to think about it. Yeah. I did not. I talk about a couple of examples of this in the book where I bravely asked a question and did not get the answer I wanted. But you have to be willing to hear the answer you get. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to take some time to think about this and I'll get back to you. So I was like, literally take all the time that you need, because you ain't coming in here in this apartment and taking up my walk-in closet if you are not coming in with the right intentions.
Ring on it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it took him about 2 months. And then he came back to me and said, I do want this to be a step towards marriage. And then I think we got engaged within a year from there. Wow. So, it was just making sure that our relationship goals were aligned, but that brave piece of sharing, being vulnerable. I know you talk about this all the time here. Like that vulnerability is really hard to access.
Oh, it's so hard. I mean, especially when we've been bruised before. Yeah. I think a lot about it in terms of like, I miss the naivete before the first heartbreak, where it's like, oh, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be brave. I can do anything, say anything. And then when we have that first like wound and we know what's on the other side of that bravery, if we don't get met, it's just so hard to build up back to that. Or even if we're trying to compare ourselves back to that moment before naivete, we can never really get there. We never can get there.
But a possible reframe on that is, if you are vulnerable and you share what's really on your heart, you can get your needs met better, because that you can see where the other person can meet your need or not meet your need. And you're operating based on transparency. Yeah. And I'm willing to get my heart broken. Like I would be much happier expressing my truth and seeing that something is not a match. Yeah. Rather than, sort of playing house or pretending and making the assumption that the other person is in the same space. And then isn't that so much more heartbreaking? Yeah. To then realize down the road, I thought I was in one relationship and this person clearly was in another.
So true. I want to take a moment to give a loud shout out to the Embody Lab, which is one of the most incredible resources for body-based and somatic therapies. This show is all about healing, and the Embody Lab does exactly that. Whether you're on your own journey of transformation and discovery, or enhancing your skill sets in your career as like a coach or a therapist, a body worker, or really any career where you are supporting other gently used humans, the Embody Lab is your place for deep, inspiring, and impactful workshops, certificates, masterclasses, and an incredible community of like-minded folks. I love the Embody Lab, and so do so many other people that call it a platform to come home to over and over again. The Embody Lab is giving my listeners an exclusive offer, a one-time 10% off code to enhance your embodied well-being. All you have to do is go to theembodylab.com and use the code GentlyUse10 at checkout. Does anyone ever tell you it's hard? Your voice is so soothing and delicious and belongs. I just had a moment where I felt like I was listening to NPR, like Fresh Air. And
oh, bless your heart. I have hosted for NPR. I used to host Life Kit relationship episodes. But thank you. It's so funny. I'm from the Midwest, and I have there's a very deep Midwest accent that somehow is buried within me.
Oh God, do you want to let it out today?
I can't turn it on or off. It's just sometimes it pops out. I don't know. Give me a couple drinks, Scott, and we'll see.
I'm happy to give you a drink, but I'm also just happy to give you a little, poke of a little Midwestern accent. Oh gosh, yeah, no, I'm here for it.
But there is somewhere, don't go looking for it on the internet. There's somewhere a video yearbook that somebody reposted on Facebook a few years ago. And I was watching myself listening. And I'm like, I can't believe that's me. It doesn't sound like me. But this is what happens. You live in different places. You live life. You become this composite of all of your experiences. And that's one thing that I think is so amazing also about dating and relationships. It's like, I always say, nothing is wasted. No, not even any relationships you had in the past that ended.
Yeah.
They're all part of your story, and you can use them all as tools in your learning journey. So
yeah, it's true. I think this is a good moment for all of us to pause and reflect on what did I learn even from the most heart-wrenching moments of relationships or breakups? It's what did I acquire from that?
Yeah, I feel like we have to do that, because if we don't do that, then it's just a waste. Then it's just a heartbreak. Then it's just a sad story.
Yeah.
Even when I don't get what I want in relationships or just, professionally in life, whatever, when things don't go my way, I try to step back and say, okay, where's the lesson? I start looking around. I'm like, where's the lesson? Where's the lesson? And a lot of times it doesn't appear right away. It may take time to look back and be like, oh, that's what I didn't learn at the time.
Yeah.
But over time, we can really use relationships, dating and relationships, as learning tools. And I know you're in agreement on that.
Hell yeah. I mean, if not, what the fuck are we doing?
What are we even doing?
Sometimes I just like to date as many people as I can to learn as much as I can.
Right? Keep telling yourself that.
Thank you, love. I will.
But that's the thing. We get to choose our own adventure now. And that's another thing that I really impress upon readers in F the Fairy Tale is that we have so much choice in our lives today. I mean, and I know not everywhere in the world do we have choice. I'm not going to get political. I'm not getting political. I'm just saying, if you are listening, I'm being real. If you are listening to this podcast right now and you have the privilege of choice, you are the luckiest person in the world. Whether you have a relationship in your life or not, if you have choice and you have freedom, first of all, let's have gratitude for that.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that having so much choice has impacted the way that we interact and the way that we communicate in a very dramatic way. And as someone who, like, I met my husband online a bazillion years ago, and that's how the majority of my clients have met online. I started out as a dating profile writer. So I'm bullish on dating apps, but I do recognize that dating apps, I talk in the book about how this idea of the paradox of choice, like, oh, we have so many options available and dating apps are to blame. I think we need to stop just like putting all of our frustration on dating apps.
Where else do I put it?
Compost it.
Compost it. Recycle that shit.
That's right. That's right. Dating apps have played a role.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's more empowering for us to look at how are we using dating apps? How are we showing up on dating apps? And it's not simply the availability of choices that causes us to feel that overwhelm and that burnout. That is not the paradox of choice.
Yeah.
The paradox of choice is us having not developed clear criteria to help us sort through the variety of options. So like if I go into the grocery store and I know this is why, like, I've been told I shop like a dude. So if I'm looking for a pair of jeans, I'm just looking for a pair of jeans. And I know the criteria, like it has to fit like this. It has to be sort of this color and, you know, and I'm not looking at like, oh, but there's a t-shirt and that which is how my daughter shops. She's like, but maybe I should just get a hoodie while I'm here. No, girl, you are looking for jeans. We're only here looking for jeans. But it's a very different way of shopping or dating. If you have absolute clarity on what you're looking for, you're not getting swayed by all of the other clutter.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, this doesn't meet my criteria. This one isn't for me. Thank and release. And I'm going to stay focused on my ultimate goal.
So is myth number 2 that you have to have get an entire outfit every time you go shopping?
Yes. Yes.
Nailed it.
Always have. No. So moving through chronologically, we talked about the mindset, and that's sort of the preparing to date.
Yeah.
And then we start moving into the search. And this is where a lot of folks get sort of overwhelmed. And that's where like the blame of dating apps comes up because we've kind of forgotten how to do the search. And so then this is the questions that I get. Damona, just tell me, like, what are the rules? Tell me the shortcuts. Tell me the hacks. You know, I just want to know how to do this faster, do this with less drama.
Less drama.
Just give me the roadmap.
Yeah.
And this is the challenge with these myths is that, you know, the hack, the rules, the game, the whatever we've taken in as how we think it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Maybe they worked at some point. I'm sure that they did. And I'm sure they have worked for certain people. But again, isn't it more empowering to write the rules yourself? So I'm much more about giving tools over rules.
Mm-hmm.
And when we flip that myth on its ear, if you can be really driven by finding compatible values, that's worth so much more than playing this game of dating. And I know dating apps like Tinder started out with language like want to keep playing. There are elements of it that are a game, but that doesn't lead to the deeper human connection that I know you and I are always talking about and that I think most of my clients actually want.
Yeah. So how do you identify your own values, let alone someone else's values, to find that sort of alignment?
A lot of listening to The Gently Used Human, a lot of self-discovery. I mean, certainly the easiest way, of course, I talk about it in my book, F the Fairy Tale, and I have exercises and things in there. But the easiest way to identify your values is look at where you put your time and your money. Because that will always show you what you value. because that's the currency of our society, our time and our money. So
maybe we could each just name what we value as examples for people.
oh man.
Let's let it out.
Yeah, let's let it out.
Mine's couture. Everyone should.
Obviously.
It's obvious.
But only jeans. No. Couture. No, I mean, it's very deep, but
yeah.
and the values that I have changed from when I originally started dating, but I would say that my values have aligned more and more with my husband as we have known each other over the years. I really value deep conversation and curiosity about the world. And
sorry, I just got a little wet. Sorry, I just need to find a little napkin.
I've been known, right? I've been known to be a sapiosexual. I very much like the intellectuals. Not the nerds so much, but the intellectuals. Okay. There's a difference. But there's plenty of people for the nerds. But that was something that was really important to me. And it didn't necessarily matter. Like, here's the distinction. Because sometimes then when we're dating by list, we're like, okay, I want somebody who's smart. Like, I'll hear that. Smart, period. That doesn't tell me, how do you want to feel when you're with this person? I really want to feel that curiosity. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel in awe of, like, when I met my husband, I was just like, I need to understand how this man's brain works. Like, and that is the kind of thing that I'm still curious about years later, where I just ask him questions and literally just sit there and absorb his perspective on the world. Doesn't mean that we're always in alignment, but I love that he has this curiosity and insatiable desire for lifelong learning.
Yeah.
So that's more descriptive than just saying like smart. I always hear smart, funny, tall.
Oh my gosh.
But I got to hear what are some of your values?
Well, first, I love that you're naming it. It's not like just the things I'm looking for, but how I want to feel in relation to that person.
Yeah.
And I like to feel felt. Like, I know some people like to be heard. They want to be seen. I like to feel felt. I like to feel someone else's, like, that just have this like clear presence and they're connecting to mine, and I can feel that. And it's not so tangible to describe in words, but it's something I'm like, oh, there's someone with me. And that's like a value I have. And a lot of people can't do that. Or maybe I don't let a lot of people in, but like whatever it is, it's like they have such a clear sense of who they are that they can come over to my playground and hang out with me.
I love that.
And that was like when I first met you too. And so I think that's one of my biggest values that I look at. And certainly I love an intellectual conversation. I love depth. I love someone who's like, can web things together, like bring all of these things and then like create something new from all the information or things they've acquired. Like, I'm not really interested in someone who can just repeat something they heard or saw, but someone who really brings new ideas or perspectives or something fresh to what they've acquired.
That is so clear and descriptive, Scott. Like, I hope everybody is taking notes. Like, that is the level of detail that I walk my clients through. Like, let's get clear on that level, because you may not recognize it on paper. When that person is sitting across from you, you're like dating by list, and you're like, and following the rules, and you're like, okay, this person clear. Send that to accounts payable. But you will recognize when the feeling is repeated, when you feel, like you just said, when you feel the energy of that person. And you may not recognize it the minute you meet them, which is where we kind of start to move into the next myth.
Yes.
Because that surrounds the date. So we've done the mindset piece. We've found the people. We're in the search. Now we actually have to go out. I know some people just passed out. They're like, no, Damona, I don't want to do the dating part. Just bring them to my door. Sure, I will bring them to the door. But I'll order you some Amazon or some Grubhub, and then
Oh.
it'll just show up.
I'm here for that.
But around the date, and we kind of hit on this a little bit, that's where the chemistry myth comes up.
Yeah.
That idea of the spark and how it's supposed to feel.
Mm.
And what you just described is so much juicier. It's such a better feeling than like, well, this person's cute and I want to go home with them. But like, I feel felt. I feel felt and heard and seen and all that that we're collectively going for.
Yeah.
That's so much more compelling to me. And those are the building blocks of long-term relationships. That's the difference between Mr. Right and now and Mr. Right.
So it doesn't have to all be available like on the first date or the first couple weeks or months even. What I hear you kind of saying is it can be, but it can also be acquired.
I don't think it can be. I have to be honest. I don't think it can be. Yeah. I don't think what I'm talking about and the pillar that is associated with the antidote to the list to the chemistry myth is communication.
No.
Communication, conflict resolution, connection.
Yeah. You
can't answer all of those questions on a first date.
No.
You can know that person is attractive. You can know that person is interesting. What I say in F the Fairy Tale is like, be led by curiosity. If you're still curious about the person at the end of the first date, go on the second date. If you're still curious at the end of the second date, go on the third date. And only at that point do you get to see how our friend Jillian Turecki says the masks come down and you start to see, oh, this is who this person is. This is what their values are. This is what they're honestly telling me their relationship goals.
Yeah.
But it takes a little time to get to that point.
Totally. And it takes time to build clarity of I mean, I don't believe in 5 love languages. I think there's a lot more. But the one thing no one fucking talks about is we all talk about love languages or love language, but we don't talk about repair language. The ways in which we really get to know the ways, because rupture and repair is an inherent part of any relationship. I've had friends who are like, I never fight with my partner. And I'm like, I'm concerned. We never have any ruptures. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that?
I'll say.
Yeah.
I don't actually I don't fight with my partner.
But
however, that doesn't mean we're always in agreement.
Yeah.
Oh, he said something so interesting to me this weekend. Yeah. He said even when we have conflict, like he doesn't go to that place of that I was like my parents and relationship models went to, or like screaming,
which is
throwing
like
things.
Destroy, cut. Yeah.
We just don't get to that part one, because we both came from a house with a lot of screaming and we like to actually communicate and hear one another. But he's like, I trust you so implicitly. I trust that when you say something that sort of stings, that your intent is not to hurt me. And that I need to better understand where you're coming from, instead of like, I think our nature is to then retaliate. Yeah. It's like, oh, I feel attacked. No, I'm going to hit back.
Yeah.
And he just has a really different, I give him full credit for it. It's not me.
But that's part of his repair language is inherent trust.
Yeah.
Or implicit trust. And that's what I mean. It's like,
earned trust.
Earned trust. Yeah. Even better. Earned trust. Because like the ways in which we feel rupture, maybe that isn't a mutual rupture that's been happening, but we feel some type of cut or bruise to the highway of connection and an experience within us that is ache. And there's just, how do we in ourselves and in relation work towards mending or healing or attuning to that ache and the disruption of that highway of connection?
1,000%. And that is why I include conflict resolution in that communication.
Yeah.
And furthermore, you usually will not have conflict on a first date because everybody's on best behavior.
Oh, whoops.
Usually. But as you,
I like to escalate, getting to the repair language, rupture and repair language as quickly as possible.
You're just demonstrating, how people can overcome addiction to drama. This is this is all in the work. It's all in the work. But I find that we are going too fast in dating. And I've been talking a lot about slow love, practicing slow love, which I can't take credit for, but it's the Dr. Helen Fisher term. But it's coming around again because it is the truth. It is the truth. And when you are looking for that conflict resolution, usually that comes later on in the relationship.
Yeah.
So we can't figure that out on the first date or probably on the second date. But as we start to really see who that person is, then you're met with that. And then we start getting into the future. That's the last phase that I work with on my clients. And this is where a lot of people mess it up and don't even realize it. They're like, oh, I've gotten really good at this dating thing. Date. But how do we land the plane? How do we seal the deal? And I find that the myth we are most hindered by is the soulmate myth. The soulmate. It's honestly, it's kind of devastating for me when someone tells me that they want to meet their soulmate, because it tells me, one, they're looking for some idea of perfection. This person is predestined for me. They're just going to come in, and it absolves us of the need to do anything to bring that person into our orbit, and then to show up when it is imperfect, as we were saying, when you do have conflict, when you do have the rupture. What do you do in that moment? Are you like, oh, there's conflict, this must not be my soulmate? You can't do that. But that's where it's funny. I hadn't even thought about the story I just told about the trust with my husband tying into this, but the trust and mutual respect is the fourth pillar. And that is built over time as well.
It takes time. Yeah. It takes time to have micro ruptures or macro ruptures and even build trust through repair, conflict and repair. And like
that is one way to do it.
My favorite way. But yes, there are other ways. No, just kidding. There are many other ways. I'm
curious from your vantage point, because I do get this question a lot. Yeah. How do you build trust with someone? What do you say?
Consistency. And when there's moments of consistency, being able to name it and that person showing up to say, recognize it, or at least honor someone else's experience. Transparency, mutual transparency. And to be honest about where there isn't yet the courage or the availability for transparency, which is also fine. Like, not everything has to be on the table. I truly believe that. But to be saying, like, I hold things that I'm not sharing with you because that's part of my own process still, or like I want to titrate it out. I think other things that build trust is just like privacy, like knowing, like if I say something to you, Damona, like we share mutual good friends, and like I know that if I say something to you, it's between you and I. Or if you're sharing it with our friend, it's about supporting me. It's not about gossiping. And like, I trust you in that. Like, there's something about you and your values that are so embodied that they're present in interaction.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And so a lot of it is like, what is our intention as a human being to another human being? Because that is easily felt by other people.
Yeah. And on a macro level, and also in day-to-day interactions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How do you build trust?
I think on the simplest level, I'd say it's someone's words and actions being in alignment consistently.
Yes.
Consistently.
And being able to recognize when they're not and owning it. Like, sometimes I am not always the kindest in my tone, even though I talk about and have taught conflict resolution and work. And it's like to be able to like go, oof, my intentions and my actions did not align in that moment. And I recognize that. And here's why, but more importantly, how are you? And I can see why maybe there will be a moment of going, ooh, can I trust this person? And I want you to know that I'm working towards more consistency because I'm also a gently used human and I will make mistakes or I will not be always able to be aligned.
I love what you just demonstrated because it's, we're all perfectly imperfect and gently
Totally.
used. And sometimes I think we just need the scripts for it too.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to say that thing, but I don't know how to begin the conversation.
Yeah.
And you made it so simple in that moment of just like, this is my intent. This is what I aim to do. I think I missed the mark. And then it's not, the way that we tend to resolve conflict of you did that and
Gosh.
why did you say this to me? And I did this because you do. I'm like working on that with my children even. Oh man, having kids is like the best relationship teacher ever. Like my son was doing something like that of like, well, I didn't do this because this is and I was like, stop. Let's just name what happened first of all. And he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Period.
Yeah.
He didn't need to explain it away. Like I think sometimes we feel like, oh, I need to explain my actions and how this happened, whatever. Yeah. And sometimes we don't even have the explanation. No. Just name that it happened. And like, we're all just trying to do better. We're all trying to glow up.
When you were talking about soulmates a little bit ago, I had a flood of a memory when I was in my mid-20s, and I was breaking up with my then partner, and I called his cousin who was a psychic, and I remember saying to her, this person who I was with was my soulmate, and we're breaking up. It doesn't make like what should I do? Like I'm breaking up with my soulmate. And she said the wisest thing that I felt at the time, the wisest thing. She was like, a soulmate doesn't mean we're meant to be together. It means we learn together.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh. And she was like, you will have so many soulmates in this lifetime. And when you're ready, you'll be able to recognize what did you learn with this person or from this person about yourself and about the world. And I really... It dissolved a lot of the sort of fakeness of like that there's one person I'm meant to be with and I have to bypass all my needs and my feelings because I'm supposed to be with this person and hormones and all those things that sort of conflate this possibility of just being in this human journey and learning together.
I love that reframe. That's so beautiful and so helpful too. Yeah. Because it just take the pressure off. You're like, oh, okay. They could be my soulmate and I can have more soulmates and I can take, it's kind of what I was saying earlier, like all parts of your story you can learn from and you can bring along with you and choose to use them how you wish. You can use them for good or you can use them to your detriment or to the detriment of the person in front of you. Yeah. But like you get to choose how you want to use that. Yeah. And the other thing I hear in that is I really push back on this term soulmate because I think, and in the book I say that studies have shown that about 70% of people believe in soulmates. And I think the soulmate that they're talking about is not the way that psychic said, like, everybody's your soulmate. They're your soulmate for then, you're soulmate, we're learning, we're growing. It's this idea of perfect soulmate, perfect match. And as someone who's been in a relationship for a long time and has shepherded a lot of relationships, I don't think it helps you to put all that pressure on one person anyway. I think you should have multiple soulmates. Like, I have 3 best friends. Yeah, 2 of them are named Holly. I don't know why. It's kind of strange.
And the third is named Scott.
The third is named Scott. But, I've had these friends in different phases of my life, and I still feel that deep level of connection with them. And I feel that deep level of connection with my husband, and it's different. And I feel that deep level of connection with my children, and it's different. And I'm not looking to this my husband to be my provider, my caretaker, my emotional support, my therapist, my business partner, get all those people. And we're kind of coming back to where we started at the beginning. Like, love expands, your heart expands and amplifies. It can only grow.
Yeah.
So you only win by having more. I don't even want to use this word soulmates, but if we must, more soulmates, more people like you in our lives, more connection points that give us a more human experience.
I love that. Thanks for being one of my soulmates, Boo Boo.
Yeah. Even though I'm not going to name it soulmate, but the feeling is mutual.
What's another name that we can come up with as a substitute for it?
We got to reclaim this.
I mean, one of the things I think that gets in the way with soulmate is that we lose a sense that like relationships are a progressive process of unraveling and learning and evolving, as opposed to it just being like, two puzzle pieces just fit together. Like, that's so untrue to the human experience.
Yeah, it's all a continuum, and relationships will go through so many phases too.
So many seasons. Yeah.
So many seasons. So, and sometimes people are in your life for a season and sometimes they're in your life for long term. But, I've caused myself a lot of pain by holding on to certain relationships that I've realized were season relationships. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners, and maybe you've been in that experience as well.
Yeah.
So let's just like reduce pain. That's all I'm trying to do. Right? Expand love, reduce pain.
Expand love, reduce pain. Did you come up with a substitute for?
I'm just vamping.
This show is also brought to you by the absolutely stunning and powerful tools of transformation that are created by Omala. Oof, even the name Omala transports you to a place of flow and vitality. These are some of my favorite products ever. They have an amazing color-changing yoga mat that responds to your temperature and presence and reflects back your posture in real time. There's this incredible smelling skin balm candle that heats up to activate all the essential oils and vitamins that your skin has been craving. I mean, look, if I could live in a giant bath of this candle, I would 100% do it. They also have these journals that lead you into profound insight, and then you get to plant those journals to create a stunning flower garden. What? I mean, if that's not deep and inventive, I don't know what is. If you're someone who desires to live a luxurious flow of life and who believes in transformative wellness, then you have to check out Omala. Omala is giving my listeners an exclusive discount to treat yourself to something that is as special as you, boo. All you have to do is go to omala.com, that's OMALA.com, and use the code DrScott10 at checkout. And a portion of every purchase goes to an incredible charity. You got this. My love, are you ready for our game?
Oh, yes.
Are you ready?
Play.
Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
So here's some profiles, dating profiles that we have pulled. And first, I want you to say swipe left or swipe right. And how, you don't actually have to say that because I know you might be against that. But you at least say like, what do you make of this? How might we support this individual for getting a little bit more clear, sharing a little bit more, evolving their dating profile? Okay, here we go. These
are real people, real profiles.
I mean, these are adapted based on real profiles for your entertainment.
I just want to make sure I'm not hurting anybody's feelings.
You're not hurting anyone.
This is only for the love and the reduction of pain, okay?
Yes, this is for the expansion of love and the reduction of pain called swipe left or swipe right.
Okay.
Okay, person number one. Cat dad to 7 furry friends. My life revolves around my cats, knitting sweaters for them, and filming their daily antics for my YouTube channel. Swipe right if you're ready to be the 8th member of our cozy family.
Okay, so look, I have to give you the stats as a longtime online dating expert. Cat dads don't do well online. So I don't know why. All the cat people have come for me on Dates and Mates on my podcast because I've talked about this stat.
I know.
But like, I don't know. Cat dogs, great. One picture of your dog.
One.
But here's why it's a swipe left. And God bless this person. I send them love and light. You don't want.
This isn't a real person. I mean,
sure.
It's me.
I've met you. And all your 7 cats.
Deathly allergic to cats, so we know it's not me.
You're right. Okay, so here's the deal with the way that this profile is written. And I do see a lot of profiles that are written, maybe not quite to that extreme, but in a similar way. You know, I work with a lot of single parents that their kids are the center of their universe, or someone's dog is the center of their universe. And that's great. And in this person's case, their work is their source of love as well. Mm-hmm. We can't attract someone from a place of I'm already full.
Yeah.
I got the cats, I've got everything, and I'm just gonna how does that feel? I'm just gonna be swept up into the
dander.
What I'm trying to think of, what do you call a gang of cats?
Is dander. A dander
parade. Of cats?
A dander parade.
Oh, a dander parade. Like a den or a
den of cats. Yeah. A den of cats. Like that's lion's den. Yeah.
Sounds awful. I don't want any part of it. You know, we want to think of writing our profile from the point of view of the person that we're trying to attract, not from the point of view that we are sitting in right now. And what would paint a picture of what would life look like when that person enters your life. And I got to believe that cat dad is not going to be having 8 cats and making videos all day.
What about plant dads? Do plant dads do better?
It's really funny that you would bring that up because I used to write for this column in the Washington Post called Date Lab. And one of our dates that we set up years ago, the people connected because they were both like plant parents. Of course, it was during the pandemic and everybody was like, what am I going to do? Let's buy a bunch of plants. But
that's my love language.
It can be a connection point.
Yeah.
When used correctly, sparingly, and as an invitation. Your dating profile is always an invitation to the other person.
Okay. Invite. Person number 2. 37% puppy, 22% tacos, 13% sarcasm, 28% wildly irrational thoughts. You do the math. Swipe right, swipe left.
This is just flashing red flag.
Because of all the math?
I can't do all that math. I've outsourced that part to my intellectual husband. No, because wildly irrational thoughts? What?
28, but only 28% wildly irrational thoughts. I feel like
that's more than a quarter, Scott. No, I vote no. That's too much irrational thoughts.
Oh, it's funny that's funny how I was like, yeah, I can manage that. That seems rational.
No, that's like a quarter. That's like 2 days a week. You're in irrational thoughts. So I say swipe left on that.
Wait, but 22% tacos though. I don't even know what that fucking means.
So what I was going to say is I like the levity and especially now as profiles have gotten so short, you have to really, in your bio, you have to really cut through. Yeah. So I like little devices like that, like using emojis, using keywords in that way. And those will also impact the algorithm in the way that,
the algorithm loves emojis or brevity?
Yes. No. The brevity is just is what it is.
Because people have such a short attention span.
The algorithm likes emojis, and they're tracking all of these things. They're tracking keystrokes. Like, are you cutting and pasting messages to all the same people? They're tracking that. but the algorithm likes emojis. The algorithm likes keywords too. And back in the day when you used to be able to do keyword searches, RIP, that was like my secret weapon. Can't really do it anymore because now it's just whatever comes up in the algorithm. But using the same words can cause the algorithm to identify sameness and match you together or suggest you to one another. So taco, 22% taco person may be more likely would probably be more likely to see somebody else that has tacos mentioned. So load up your profile with keywords that are specific, like things that are very specific, like, instead of just saying funny, like name a comedian, name. I was thinking about
I know we went and saw a comedy show together.
I love it. So yeah, the specifics in there.
I'm just going to name it Nikki Glaser.
I'm just going to name it Eliza Schlesinger. I was like, who's on Nikki? I'm there. Like amazing, hot, funny female comedians. I'm
please.
in it. And some others. There were others.
There were others.
But mostly I was there for you, for the cuddles.
Oh, I was
and the
there
laughs. Cuddles
that
and
was
laughs.
Good.
22% cuddles, 75% laughs. Let's write our dating profile down.
We will.
I like it. I like the tacos.
Tacos. All right, number 3. Aspiring world traveler stuck in a 9-to-5. Weekends are for YouTube concerts and finding the best pizza in the city. Have strong opinions about pineapple. Want to debate it over a slice? No vegans, please.
It's funny. I was making all the faces for the people who are just listening. At the beginning, I was making all the faces, but it's definitely a swipe left. Why are these all swipe lefts? But there's something in here that is teachable here.
Okay.
Because I don't love when you say any phrase like "don't even contact me if" or "no vegans," the poor vegans. When you say a no, you are automatically blocking more people than the people that you're trying to exclude, because it makes you seem rigid and it pushes others away, even if they're like, "What's wrong with the vegans?"
Yeah.
Or even if they're like, "I don't really like vegans."
What's wrong with the pineapple?
However, pineapple is a somewhat innocuous thing to take a stance on.
Yeah.
And I like the invitation to debate. So I like to have for an initial message for my clients to do like a this or that kind of conversation starter. So this embeds that right in the profile. And I encourage people to write profiles from the point of view of like, what are some threads that people can pick up on, and then message me when it's a match.
Love it. This is so fun. I'm learning so much. Can we just keep going? I have a bunch more.
I would love to, but please give me a swipe right. I want to say yes to somebody.
No, I'm sorry. This is it's swipe left or swipe right, but it's really about the drama of swiping left.
Okay. It's just a game.
I think there might be some swipe rights coming up for you, which are swipe lefts for me.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. I can't cook, but I can order takeout like a pro. Looking for someone to be my little spoon and share my love for napping. If you're a foodie who's as indecisive as I am, let's be indecisive together.
Just personally, this is a swipe right for me personally, because I also can't cook. But then I was like, wait, somebody's got to cook, right? Then I was like, decisive. Take out all day. I don't like the indecisive part, but this is why the kind of instructive part here is I encourage people to swipe right more liberally, because I think we're also a little too discerning in that first swipe. We want to figure out everything about this person, and there's so little material we have to go on.
For sure.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe they're indecisive, but maybe they're also just trying to be funny and find something to say.
And maybe they haven't worked with you yet. And take pity on those. Take pity on those folks.
Pour a little out for the homies. You were going to swipe left, though?
Not on this one. I was going to just shut the app down so I wouldn't have to make a decision.
The oldest trick in the book.
It's true. The amount of times when I was single that I would just close the app and hope someone else comes up when I reopen the app so I just don't have to make a decision was probably 90% of the time.
And how did that work out for you?
I mean, I'm not single anymore, but not because of the apps.
So yeah.
Great. Number 5. Outdoor enthusiast and wildlife photographer, usually out hiking, capturing stunning wildlife photos and sharing adventures over a campfire, looking for someone sweet. That way the mosquitoes will get to you instead of me. LOL.
LOL.
Thank you. Swipe left, motherfucker. No truncation of language is my.
Well, if that was something that was important to me, along with my values, definitely. Look, this is a great profile. This is absolutely the wrong person for me, and I love that I know that. I want no part of your outdoorsy lifestyle. I don't want to meet any wildlife out in the woods with you. I don't want any of that. So thank you for being so specific that I know exactly what I'm swiping left on. Now, for the people that are like, okay, funny story. A friend of mine met her husband on Craigslist personals.
Oh my God.
Back in the Middle Ages.
I remember the Middle Ages.
Craigslist by candlelight. But she said it was something like outdoorsy Jewish girl seeks hiking, but something like that. Mm-hmm. And they're perfect for each other. Mm. They are both Jewish and they're both outdoorsy and they hike together and now they have a family and they hike with them. And it is exactly the wrong lifestyle for me. And I have that clarity. But I love that it brought the two of them together. So always in your profile, be as specific. I say pick a side of the street. Because I hate reading profile. I'm just as comfortable in a pair of sweats as I am in a pair of high heels. No, you're not. No, you are not.
No, so, unless you're wearing sweats with high heels, which I do love personally.
Hasn't happened in my life, but maybe, look, we are always growing and learning. Maybe that's something I can try in the future. But I know, like for me, I'm not as comfortable in sweats as I am in high heels. Obviously, I'm more comfortable in sweats, but I'm not going to show up to a date in sweats. Like I've always been that person. I'm not wearing high heels right now, but I've always been
I'm thinking about it.
Oh, I have some upstairs. I'll grab them later and I'll put my sweats on with them. But I've always been a person that I like to dress up. Like even in high school, I'd like wear dresses to school and people are like, they're wearing the sweats. I'm going to pick that side of the street. And that's going to tell you a lot more about me than if I'm trying to be on both sides at the same time.
I own at least 8 pairs of high heels. I own 1 pair of sweatpants. I just want to let you know that.
See, and this is why we put our money and our time where our values are. And that's in high heels and couture.
Absolutely.
You like all these callbacks?
I love a callback. I'm so impressed. I was going to call back your callback earlier and just be like, and this is how you do entertainment.
Dun-dun-dun. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to swipe left. I would have swiped right. But the LOL is my rigidity. Any truncation of language, abbreviations, emojis are an absolute immediate swipe left for me.
Oh, no. I've definitely texted you emojis and truncated language.
And because I love you so much, I received that and did not end our friendship. But to initiate a new relationship, if I get truncation of language, it's like, language was so hard for me as a kid. So I worked so hard to be able to learn how to spell and read because I couldn't do that until I was a teenager. And so, and emojis, I was just felt like, and I remember early in grad school, I would focus all my research time and papers on what happens as we truncate language, what happens in the brain as we truncate language and use emojis as opposed to write out our feelings. Anyways, that's my soapbox. I don't really care. I'll still
I love your soapbox. I love your soapbox, but I'm just going to vote for I'm just going to put one little vote in the emoji box that
Yeah.
in the way that we communicate now, and I have like a whole
Yeah.
section in F the Fairy Tale about the
Yeah.
texting trap, I call it, because it is a
Okay.
trap. I would
Yeah,
much
yeah.
rather have
A phone
in
call.
person, synchronous real-time
Yeah.
communication with someone.
Yeah.
But texting is a fact of life, and the DM phase is a fact of dating apps.
Yeah.
So I find that emojis are really effective when you don't know someone yet in communicating intent.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing in the written communication. So that's my vote for emojis, but totally respect it.
Yeah.
Respect. My thing is misspellings. Like I can't. I literally can't. Like there's spell check. Siri is trying to help you with this, and you're just going to blatantly ignore her.
And grammarly, you can embed into your text. If you can't use the motherfucking Oxford comma, we are not in relationship.
Glad to be one of your many, many soulmates.
Number 6. All right. We have a few more. Trying Tinder out because mouthing I love you to strangers out my car window doesn't seem to be working. Am I cute? No. Do I have a nice personality? Also no.
Great. This is
Does defecation
this is your husband
work
right now?
I know. I swiped right. Does self-deprecation? I said defecation, but I meant does self-deprecation?
Not to that level, because that red is creepy, and as soon as you start going into creepy, then you're in self-defecation, right? That's creepy.
I mean, I thought it was funny as shit. I will say, had they stopped at trying Tinder out because mouthing I love you to strangers out my car window doesn't seem to be working and stopped there, I would have swiped right because I think that's funny. And I humor warms my every part of me.
Oh, I know. Maybe just, basic bitch cishet woman over here. I was like, oh, gross. It just gave me an image that I can't unsee.
What's the image?
Like some skeezy guy, like being like, I love you. That happens. Like that happens on the streets of New York. Like I don't feel safe.
I just heard the theme song of like Scrub from TLC playing in my head too.
Yeah, hanging out the passenger side. It was his
best
best friend's right. It's not even his car.
It's not even his car. He's mouthing out. I love you from.
Good. We gave him that punch up.
Number 7. And if that's your profile out there, have fun. Okay. Professional sock model by day, amateur clown by night. Looking for someone who can appreciate my extensive collection of novelty socks and isn't afraid of a little face paint. Recent photos only.
I kind of want you to go first on that because I don't think I understand. Is there something about socks? Is this a foot fetish thing? Feet pics?
First of all, I love their multi-enthusiastic entrepreneurial self. I will say that. I love that they're open to a multiplicity. That I feel like they're a hustler. They're out there working. They have clear things that they like and that they value, and I appreciate that. I think the one caveat where I get a little like, ooh, from is recent photos only. And I've seen that enough before, and I actually honor it because I know, like, when I was on the apps, people would use photos from 10, 15 years ago. Like, six-pack abs 10 years ago, not so much now. And, like, not that I care about that, but it's just, like, there's something that doesn't feel honest and, like, here's who and how I am now. So, but calling it out is another thing.
Yeah, and anytime it's kind of like the no vegans. Anytime you name something like that, that doesn't mean that's what you're not going to get.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, "Oh, well, I guess I better not contact you because I don't have those abs anymore."
Yeah.
They're like, "I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to try it anyway."
Mm-hmm.
Swipe right. Let's see.
Did you just swipe right on the clown?
No, I'm not. I'm saying the people are saying swipe right. But
I think it's too late. I think you swiped right.
I swiped right. I did. What you gonna do about it?
I'm just gonna film the date and we'll deconstruct it later.
We'll see. Oh my gosh,
That's
what
TV
I want to do next time. Yes.
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 Where we go on dates and then we deconstruct it for each other.
No, I would love to do that. I've done that. There was a TV show that I hosted called #Black Love, and I did one scene where I got to watch this person date and like take notes and
Yeah.
give them feedback. It was awesome. It was so
Wow.
instructive, but
That sounds fun.
it also only lasted one season. So
It's a
the
tough
smallest
industry.
violin playing.
Smallest violin. All right. Last but not least, profile number 8. Entrepreneur and fitness enthusiast.
No, pass, left.
My perfect day. Morning workout, a protein shake at Air One, conquering the business world, and then showing my partner off to all my friends at a dinner party. Seeking someone with a growth mindset and their own 401k.
Okay, I am very sure, Scott, that this is an actual profile that you pulled. This is. I'm like, because I've seen this a million times. What I will say is there are a couple buzzwords that we just want to be careful. So if this is you or if your profile sounds like this, let's take our foot off of the entrepreneur gas, because when we say entrepreneur, that means ... unemployed. Nobody wants that.
Does it really?
Yes, that is that's code.
That's code. Oh,
that's
shit.
Code for all my money's in Bitcoin. But I'm an entrepreneur.
I love a Bitcoin, bro. At Air One.
At Air One. Look, I live in LA. I know this person. In fact, not only am I sure this is a real profile, I'm going to walk out my door and I'm going to snatch them out of Air One and be like, is this you, bro? Is this you? Yes. I love the specificity, but it's not written with the person that they want to match in mind. It's more like, look at all of the cool things that I like. It's
I
want
to use you as a fucking trophy, is what it's saying.
Well, sure.
I mean,
yeah. I'm using myself as a trophy.
I'm using myself
and
as
I
want
to use you as a trophy too.
Yeah. And some people like that, I imagine.
That's been something that's very hard for me to wrap my head around as like a feminist, a multicultural Midwesterner, that there are some people who want to be the trophy.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but I can't really relate to it.
You would you would swipe left.
Oh, well, I would swipe left. Yes. But I don't want to discourage them from being their true self if this is who they really are.
How diplomatic of you.
Pass them on to you. There's that feature now in Tinder where you can send profiles.
Suggest? Oh, wow.
So I'll suggest them for, I don't know, maybe not for you, but for somebody.
Thanks.
Somebody. We'll toss them around our friend circle.
You're
the trophy now.
You're the trophy. You know what, Damona? The trophy is you. You are my trophy of love. No. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for educating all of us. Thank you for giving us insights on how to write better dating profiles and date better and love better. And I want everyone to go out and get the damn book.
Get the damn book. F the fairy tale.
F the fairy tale. And F does not stand for fetishizing, which is what I first thought it did.
No, it doesn't stand for fetishizing.
Fuck the fairy tale.
F it.
And
just F
fuck
it.
F it. And where can people find more of you or connect with you, get a hold of you? I'll put your phone number in the show notes, but where else can people find you?
Text me only emojis, though, please.
And LOLs.
And LOLs. I do like the LOL. But anyways,
I know.
What I like even more than that is getting questions from folks and helping people with their dating life on Instagram at Damona Hoffman, and also on the Dates and Mates podcast, which they can hear your wonderful episode from earlier this season. And I'm on all the things at Damona Hoffman, and of course, F the Fairy Tale is wherever you get your books in ebook, hardcover, and audiobook. So if you like my voice, if I haven't annoyed you yet, you can have 7 more hours of this.
And they can see you on, I don't know, television a bunch.
Yeah, television a bunch. I'm on the Drew Barrymore Show and Access Hollywood, Access Daily, as their official love expert. So you can catch episodes of me there.
Yes. Damona, thank you. I love you so much.
I love you too. This is the most fun I've ever had on a podcast. And you can quote me on that.
I will fucking put that on my website. And to all my gently used humans out there, we love you too. Thank you for listening to the Gently Used Human podcast with Dr. Scott Lyons and friends. Visit gentlyused.com for fun extras. And don't forget to spill the tea and gossip about the show with all your friends and frenemies. And you know what? Show us some love by giving us 5 stars and leaving a review in your favorite apps. This helps us connect with all the other gently used humans out there. Oh, and by the way, you look fierce today.